Hello and welcome back to my channel. Just want to say a huge thank you for being here. Thank you to everyone who's been supporting me, watching my videos, sharing, liking and commenting, and thank you to those who will be watching the videos. Yes, a big thank you there. I really appreciate it. Today's video, I'm going to be sharing some perspectives on the war and the world. Who runs the world? I know how that sounds, but bear with me. Remember, this is just me sharing my perspective as I go through my journey, where I'm at, what I'm questioning, and I guess some of these questions actually are questions I feel like I've had since a little kid, so they haven't gone anywhere, they're still there, still wanting answers. So yeah, the war. I don't know about you, but when I was born, I'm pretty sure there was a war happening. It's just progressed and changed over the years. But what I want to say and share is that let's look at it differently. Let's view reality and let's view reality as a reflection. So we're constantly projecting out, and everything then is mirroring and or reflecting back to us. And that will be things about ourselves. So sometimes, give an example, it could be, I don't know, you could be feeling insecure about something, then someone comes along, does or says something that makes you feel insecure. That kind of, I don't say make you because you already feel it, not reinforces, but kind of just it shows up. So you're insecure about something, someone comes along, does or says something, brings you to that insecurity. And yeah. So with the war, what if it's a collective projection and there will be a loop, a big loop in terms of that collective projection. So what we're seeing and witnessing, what if what we're seeing and witnessing is literally just seeing and witnessing, but more of a reflection of what's being felt internally, which would be coming back to that internal conflict, which really is, I'm going to say, inner child, the wounded inner child, which can relate to the womb. If you're into past lives and all of that, it could relate to all of that. And if we do reincarnate, then we're just coming back in to the same, well, not the same because things would have progressed and changed, but if we reincarnate, we're just coming back into a cycle, being born back into conflict and all of that, all of those emotions. So what if the war that we're witnessing is nothing but an internal conflict that now has a feedback loop of projection and reflection? So yeah, there's a lot of videos out there that people talk about using Day, whoever you want Day to be, fear mongering as a way of control or that appeasement. So where was I going with this? Fear mongering and appeasement. So as the pressures got put on, as people feel pressured and uncertain and everything else that comes with what's going on in the world, if it's going to generate fear and just internal conflict, then there's an energy exchange happening. So your output is going to be fueling, let's call it a cloud. So imagine the cloud, cause a collective cloud that we stream energy into, shifts or has a huge influence on the overall collective frequency, meaning the more collective, how can I put this? It's like the more collective frequency we have that is, say, sadness, is the more sadness we'll feel, if that makes sense. It's like an energetic cloud where the energies will just still be cycling in, and everyone will be feeling that to some degree. Some people might say different, it depends where you're at and what you're working through and all of that. So let's just recap. The war that we're seeing and witnessing potentially is a reflection of the internal conflict that we have within ourselves, but also then collectively as well. And energy streaming the emotions that the conflict bring, which are, let's call it your lower vibrational frequencies, in a constant energy exchange of entanglement. So knowing that and using it as a way of control, is not the nicest thing to do or be doing, but sadly that's where we're at. Knowing that and then continuing that, it's like, okay, what's actually going on? This is just, is there any need for it? Now, I'm sure to some degree on a grander scale, the bigger picture, that it will be serving a purpose. What that is, I mean, everyone can come up with an idea of what that might be. It doesn't necessarily mean to say it is. But is there really as much need for it as what we think? What's actually going on, what's being said? Politics. If there's resources, then we live on an abundant planet, in an abundant solar system, in an abundant universe. So there's more than enough resources to go around, but it comes back to that man-made system where you can get that power and that control by controlling the resources. But in hindsight, I personally feel that there's more than enough resources to go around for everyone, and there's no need for the conflict, for the war. However, there's a lot more to it, I'm guessing. Not guessing, I'm just saying there's a lot more to it than that. But also, just want to point out that collectively, we are powerful individually, but collectively, that's another ball game. Like, let's put this into perspective. So, who runs the world? And there's a lot of videos out there, people saying it's this organisation, this foundation, this. Yeah, no, I get that. They're the pillars in the economy. But actually, who runs the world? Well, I'm going to say it's us. There's over 8 billion of us on this planet, and we are the system, we are the matrix. Some may agree, some may disagree. The fact that the way I see it, the fact you're here and living and working and doing whatever you're doing within the system, you are the system, right? Now, without us, there is no system. And I'm not saying that in a very negative way. I'm saying that in a way of, we are the ones that we get up and we go to work. We work all these jobs to make sure all this stuff the world works, so to speak. The farmers, the food, the supermarkets, the cell phone towers, everything. People go to work in all of these areas, whatever your job is or whatever the jobs are. So in theory, we make the world run. Regardless of the orders coming down, we are actually the ones enforcing it. So let's take COVID. They gave the order, and yes, COVID was a time where there was gain and there was loss. Obviously, there was a lot of monetizing and money being made through COVID. And the war, as we know, the fact that people are making a lot of money through violence and conflict is like, you've got a conscience, but it's each to their own. So yeah, let's take COVID. They gave the orders for COVID that we need to shut down the world or limit whatever they needed to limit, whilst people sadly passed away and businesses got closed and all of that going on. That only actually happened because we enforced it. We are the enforcers of whatever the command is, if that makes any sense. So if we really wanted to, personally speaking, collectively, we can make a bit more of a stand. Like, we are powerful together. We are the ones in these jobs doing these things, running the world. Yes, we've got AI, which is another area that, yeah, it's like, so yeah, I'm just going to recap on what I've said, and this is the second time shooting this video because I'm not entirely sure I'm being as clear as I want to be. The war, so let's take reality and everything as a whole. Everything is, if we look at things or life, reality as a reflection, what's being reflected back to you is the war. Could the war just be what's being felt on a mental, physical, emotional, so spiritual level? And yes, a lot of us are on a journey. I guess we're always on a journey, personally speaking, but some of us are in that healing phase and going through what you're going through, and it's challenging, I'm not going to lie. And do we have more power? I feel like we have more power, that together, collectively, than what we realise at this moment in time. And actually, could a collective movement of some kind, I don't know, I'm not going to say what, because it could be anything, right? Could that actually flip the scales? What happens if we come together collectively and get their attention to say, actually, we want the changes, or these things need to change, etc., etc. Like, everything has a purpose, yes. How you see that, or your perspective on that, can make a huge difference. But yeah, you know, we are getting our we're sat on all these resources that we use to make the world run. And regardless, in hindsight, thinking about it, regardless of what's being said or suggested, or what the orders are, it's still a choice. If we come together collectively, actually, like in COVID, the world didn't have to shut down. The world didn't have to shut down, we enforced it. So yes, we will have to work and do what we have to, like, do what we do, but you know, in these jobs, some jobs out there are what's the word I'm looking for? It's not helpful or unhelpful, it's we're in these jobs and we're enforcing a lot of these things in the jobs that we're doing. And do we have more say in that if we wanted to, if that makes sense? And how is that benefiting others? So I'm just looking around because my mind, this one is in my head, it seemed very straightforward to say what I wanted to say, and it hasn't come out like that whatsoever. Yeah, right, quick recap. The war, everything around us is a reflection of us individually and collectively. I'm suggesting, if we look at it that way, collective manifestations, the way it happens, energy, vibration, frequency, It's just emotion. Emotion is energy in motion. When we don't allow that energy to move through us, it becomes stuck and stagnant in areas of our body, manifesting as illness, ailment, and or disease. Yeah. I guess that's the message I have for you today. Collectively, if we come together and if there was a movement, could we collectively have our say or make our stand? What happens if we get the attention of whoever needs it to be, whoever we need to? I don't know. I'm just thinking in terms of, are we at a time? I feel like we're getting closer to a time where there is going to be something that happens that is going to tip the scales. Whatever that is, I don't know. I saw a video many years ago that's, what was they talking about? I think they have like psychics and mediums and people who channel on their YouTube channel. So there was connecting, and he was talking about court cases, like big court cases for the, let's call it, injustice. There's a lot of things going on, there's a lot of things happening. Some may, whether you agree or disagree if it should or shouldn't. They was just speaking about some big court cases where the system and systems are being challenged. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, because there's infinite possibilities to what's actually going on and what's going to happen. I'm not entirely sure anyone really knows that 100%. But yeah, with where we're at, with information that's coming out, this closure, yes, it needs to happen, but it could also create a sense of distrust, which can also be chaotic energy. So yeah, just be mindful. I'm just saying, be mindful about and how we're thinking about things. Is it serving you to think that way? Your feelings are a reflection of your thoughts. And with everything going on in the world, in your life, sometimes that can be challenging and tricky, but yeah, I'm all for peace and love and oneness. Just, I think the world's ready for it too, right? Yeah. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. It hasn't come across the way in which I wanted or intended it to, just in terms of trying, I don't know what was going on. It was a bit of a challenge for me to say that, I guess. Yeah. Question though, what would you all like to see in the world? Even just one thing, what would you like to see the world, or how would you like to see the world? I do personally feel like we are getting closer to something that is going to flip the scales. A sense of oneness, or yeah, something, whether it's one big collective movement. I don't know, maybe that's because that's what I want to see. Who knows? But one thing for certain, I feel like the world is ready for that. There's a lot of influential people out there a lot of organizations and companies that are for the solution. Yeah. So the why I say that is something I often think about and say to people, either is a choice, right? You're either part of the cause or part of the solution, and I feel like the cause has been playing out for too long. So let's start thinking in terms of solutions. What could the solutions be to where we're at, where we're heading, or what we want collectively? So yeah, that's the message I have for you today. No, there was something else I was going to say. Yeah, so I was just saying there's a lot of people out there, organisations and people that are for the solution. What happens if they actually come together, join forces? What would that look like? What would that be? I can give my perspective, but it doesn't make it true. It's just the vision that I guess I have. But yeah, anyway, that's the message I have for you today. Thank you for bearing with me. I hope that there was just a message in there for you all about the current situation. I'm not saying what I'm saying is 100% truth or fact. It's just my perspective. And I thought I'd share that with you and hope that there'll be something in there that you resonate with or can take away with, and you don't have to. That's okay. It's each to their own. But yeah, I will more than likely keep coming back to you collectively and what we can do collectively, or speaking about the power that we hold collectively in probably a lot more of my videos. But yeah, people, spread the love, keep it real. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free, if you want to leave a donation. I'll put a link to my PayPal in the description box, and please like, share, comment. Feel free to engage, and thank you very much and enjoy your week.